they pour way too much in your glass. Just move your hips like a hold-up class. Get the gab, I talk that gap. Strut like up, and I walk that shit. When I'm up, that's it. I'ma start living reckless. Get that bag, I'ma walk like this. Yeah, I'ma walk like this.
Hey, welcome back to the Authentic Walk podcast, hosted by Tanner Morgan and Deventry Jordan, where we just talk about essentially allowing God and others to see the real you. All things sport, faith, life, business. We'll chop it up. Today we have a very special guest in Deontay Jordan, who happens to be Deventry's son.
Yes.
And we're going to get into how their working relationship happens. Deontay does a great job working with the NFL combine guys
and NBA.
And a lot of NBA dudes.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you got a really close relationship with some guys in the league and college that you've really poured into. So we're just going to chop it up and get into how y'all work together, how that relationship's been, and all things about sport and faith and working together with your pops.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude, thanks for being on. We appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, so let's just get right into it. How did you even, so obviously you grew up watching your dad with Game Face, right?
Yeah.
Like you were a hooper yourself, you played.
Yeah.
Like how did you know, and maybe I would want to do this professionally, like how did that happen for you?
I think it was like organically, like from myself. I think it was just one of those things like I didn't know really anything else. I think that was kind of where it fell back on. And it was a healthy thing looking back on it, because I knew, with that being said, like I had nothing else to rely on besides God and the people around me. And I knew the season of playing sports were over. You know, God revealed that to me at a pretty random time in my life. Like I think I was like 19, 18 at the time, and all I knew was what I was doing and what I was prepping for. And then series of confirmation stuff kept coming up. Had lots of talk with close people of mine, and I didn't know what was next. All I knew was I had to do something else. Yeah. And then that went into transitioning into my professional career later on. So
yeah, that's good. And you were in like a limbo, right? Of do I want to pursue ministry, like full-time vocational ministry, or athletics, which there's ministry in athletics, right? For like as we know. How was that for you? Because you were in it, like you were working at a church and training, doing both, trying to figure out what you wanted to do.
It was tough, man. That was because I felt like a part of me, I was kind of like letting down God if I didn't go that route in a way. And having that much pressure on yourself at 19, 20, you don't really look at that in that light. But I was really hard on myself, because I was like, I've invested so much time in this area. And you know how it is, especially as an athlete, like once you start like sharpening a skill and you get a rhythm, you get a muscle memory, you're like, all right, cool, like I got a groove, let me keep going where I'm at. Yeah. So for that to kind of shake up and then opportunity to open up with Game Face, at the time that it did, I knew it was time to run with it.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think one of the things you're talking about is like we as believers, right? Yeah. You can think that the ultimate way to being the most perfect Christian is to work in a church or work in a ministry setting, and like that's definitely a calling, but like we got to go make an impact in the world too. Sure. And like that's all about finding out. Like I know there's a lot of people, like myself included, for a while, like figuring out what do I want to do? What am I supposed to do? And like hearing your story about it, like I think will make an impact on some people.
But I think for him too, it's like, as his father, I never wanted to pressure him. It was always about trying to support him, and in my mind, I'm like, please choose this route. Yeah. But it's like, not having a father, trying to be a father. Yeah. I'm trying to get counsel from people in the church, and I'm like, well, let him stay in ministry. It's the safest thing to do. Yeah. And I'm like, but I want him to follow what God has for him. Like you said, that could be any path. Right. Right. This ministry and training. There's ministry and serving in the church.
There's ministry and working in sales. Yeah.
It's wherever you see it, right? It's wherever God puts you. And so when he made that decision, I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's do it. And so it's funny because in our dynamic, we get this question a lot. Like, for me, working with him is really easy. I think we understand each other. And we never try to make it about ourselves. It has to always be about the athlete. Yeah. Right? And there's some things he does really well that I'm like, wow, okay, that's cool, right? There's some things I can come on the back end and I can do it, and we see it in each other, right? And I just think that we never overstep. We We have some conversations. Well, no, we shouldn't do that. No, don't do that. No, do it this way. Don't do it that way. And we do that from training and in business, right? Because we're both growing, right? You're like, hey, Dad, you got this meeting where you're at. Don't take that meeting. I'll take it for you, or let's do it this way. And I'll sit back. I'm like, you know what? You're right. And vice versa. And it's hard, growing a business with your family because, it's family and separating the two, right? When am I dad? When am I boss? What's going to happen? What's here? How are we all growing together? How's the business growing? And keeping all that in perspective, especially culturally, being black men. You don't see that a lot.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, that's good. I think one of the things with y'all is like, if I walked in here and didn't know you, I probably wouldn't know that you were his dad and you were his son.
No, right.
Like just
nobody does. Yeah.
There's not a nepotism
right.
kind of factor into it. Like watching your dad do it for your whole life gave you an understanding of, I think I could do this and do this really well, and maybe God's leading me into this. But that was just like how the door opened for you. Yeah. Like you wouldn't be getting the opportunities you had if you were just a trash trainer. But just because your last name, right?
Right.
Like, so that's the thing is, if your last name wasn't the same,
right,
I wouldn't have known that.
That's true.
I don't even think I knew that you were his son for a minute. No. Honestly,
it's not something we talk about. We don't really know. And I had to take it out. I had to get to a point where I'm introducing him as who he is, not my son. Right? Hey, this is Deontay. Blah blah blah. One of our coaches. Blah. Then people organically start finding out as we talk. As we start engaging with each other.
So how did you? Like you walk into the training, you've watched your dad do it for a long time, but you're trying to figure out how can I be the best? Like what's my line in this? What's my cadence? How do I coach? What makes me different? What's that process been like for you? And really like gravitating towards, like, you do a great job with the NFL pre-combine guys, with the high school athletes and everyone, but I really see like a firm connection between you and the basketball guys because that's your story, right? So like how do you navigate both? What's the difference between training the NBA and NFL guy, and kind of how did you find your lane?
I'll say the first part, I'm big on like expressing my failures, if that makes sense. From the first part, like I feel like I had a real big imposter syndrome. I just learned what that meant like a month ago. It's crazy. Like I had it, like I really did, because he would tell me all the time, like him and my mom are they're some of my biggest supporters and the most honest people in my life. Like they're the type of parents that like, if I had a bad game, like they was like, nah, bro, that was bad. Like you suck.
Like, nah, bro, that was
they didn't sugarcoat anything. So I knew once I got to the point when like I really started to develop and honing on my craft and take it serious, he was like, hey, bro, like you're like good at this. And in my head, I'm like, I'm like 20 and 21, you're in that phase, and I'm, I get one side of people saying, nah, like, you're doing good, you got it. Then another side is like, oh, you only got it because of this.
Right.
And so, like, imagine dealing with that, for years, on end, and I'm like, the whole time battling myself, like, okay, I'm getting better at this, getting better at that, but then, like, I'm hearing this, and I'm hearing that, and I'm still young, so, like, it's impressionable, but I got to a point where I took a step back and I looked at the work around me, and I looked at who I developed. And I looked at guys that didn't make the varsity team the year before go undefeated in the next season. And, they lose 30 pounds and their vertical goes up, 7 inches. And I'm like, I played a part in that. And then, you kind of get a groove and you keep just looking and counting your blessings. And I think that was one of the biggest things that helped me. Because that imposter syndrome thing was real. Like there was nothing that I could have done in those developmental years for me to really acknowledge how good I was. Nothing. Wow. And I had to get to a point where like I really looked at it and look what God gave me, and all the gifts and the opportunity that He gave me, and I was like, oh yeah, this is for me. And then people tell me that, they're like, nah, D, like you changed my life. You changed the trajectory of my athletic career, and I was like, oh. Okay, like like I'm like that. So
I'm that guy. And retrospectively, it's hard. It's easier to look back and be like, oh yeah, like okay, I have. But in the moment, one of the things you're talking about is like, whose voice are you listening to?
For sure,
right?
Because it can be easy to say, this parent says this about me, or this other peer says this. Like, how do both of y'all, in this really performance based, professional personal training with the top athletes in the world, and with high school athletes too, who are in an area where they really need molding and developing. Like, how do you find out? Like, how do you battle what voice you're listening to, whether it's your own, outside people, or
That's good.
or from God, right? Like, how do you find that still small voice and listen to that guiding voice, and like be real? Like, how do you struggle with that too?
Yeah,
I think for me,
take that one. Yeah,
the level that I'm at as a performance coach, as a business owner, I really don't listen to a lot of people anymore. I really
Circle got tighter.
Listen to the voice of God more. And I don't ask questions pertaining to training. I ask questions pertaining to perspective of my life as a man. And I do that because of not having a father, having 3 kids, having a grown adult son he's his own man, right?
Yeah.
What do I do? And a father gave me an advice. He has some kids that are pros. He said, you got to get from the perspective where you lead from behind. Your leadership is from permissive, right? Leadership is permission. And so I had to be like, how do I be more supportive of him versus trying to tell him, right? And so that's my approach, and I love it because now it allows for me to kind of step outside my realm and learn a new trait for myself. So when he's ready to step into that, I already have it ready to go for him to step into.
Right.
So it's like I'm really leading from behind, but I'm really leading over here.
Right.
I'm trying to craft a new lane for myself because I'm in a lot of meetings, that I've never been in before. I'm doing a lot of different things that I've never seen before, and it's really hard for me because like some days I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And so he's thriving in his lane, and he came to me. He's like, Dad, I got it. I'm like, are you sure? He said, I got it. You go focus. I got it. And then we come together at the end of the year for Combine and NBA, and like we kill it, dude. Like it's like really we kill it. If we do good. It took a long time for us to say that we're really good at it without being cocky.
Right. Yeah. That difference between like having faith of like, no, I am good at what I do, compared to like, nah, like y'all look at me, look at how good I am. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, you took the words perfectly. And to go back to your previous question and working with, the NFL Combine athletes and the NBA pre-draft and professionals in general, I think once we started getting into that realm more, that like kind of sharpened not only your toolbox as a trainer, but like your mental aspect of how you view everything. So like going to New York for, months on end and going down to South Florida and, Chicago and all these other places, you start to branch out, and it's kind of like that, getting on like the circuit or like going to go do like, the Nike Spark cans back in the day. Like you get to see if you really, if you can do it. And I think that was another part that like helped us realize who we were.
Okay.
And, our gifts and talents, that we not only practice, but that God gave us. And coming back here and be able to give that to the athletes in Minnesota, I think that was, the biggest thing for us, because we always talked about expanding and going out and building a brand. And once we were able to do that, I think it was just second nature. We were just like, oh yeah, like we've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's good. I think we were talking about, I mean, when you're training the best athletes in the world, right? Guys training for the NBA or in the NBA, training for the NFL or in the NFL, they're considered the best athletes in the world, in my opinion. For sure. There's a different level of commitment and determination when you're right there, especially those combine guys, when it's like, it's right here. Like I'm gonna get drafted in a month, 2 months, 3 months. Like I'm locked in right now. Like I'm listening to everything you say because I want to get my bag, and this is what I've been dreaming for my entire life.
Right.
From your guys' perspective, like when you're coaching those athletes, like they want to know that you're the best in the world at what you do. And that comes with that continuation of like learning and changing and continuing to improve. How do you seek that on a daily, yearly, monthly basis? Like how do you look to get better at training? Because it's a lot different from training an NBA guy to an NFL guy, from a big to a little in the league, right? A skill guy to a big O-line or running back like Evan Hull is different than training Nash Jensen, which is different than training the bunch of receivers that y'all guys have, which is different than shoot, I'm blanking on his name, Jackson, dude going to Creighton right now.
McAndrew, yeah.
Yeah, who's a baller.
Yeah.
Completely different. So how do you individualize it for the athlete while continuing to grow your toolbox as a trainer? Because y'all are not just specific to one sport.
No.
Like it's a wide range.
Yeah, we got a lot.
And figuring out how to be your best in each category.
I just told you this the other day, but I'm gonna take that one. Repetition for sure. It's repetition. Like I told someone, I said your reps and reps and reps. You gotta make them real time and you gotta make them count. Yeah. Because over time, like that repetition turns into your reputation. So like if you got like bad rep on bad rep, and you got like a week worth of good reps, then like another month of bad reps, like that's gonna precede you. But I know now as Deontay Jordan, as DaVinci Jordan, it don't matter if I'm training Sam, who's an 8th grade star on the traveling basketball team, or an NBA player or an NFL player. It's gonna be the same level of training.
Correct.
Because my reputation is already out there. They know if you come to us, you're gonna get it.
Yeah, you're not gonna coach the dude in the league harder than the 8th grader.
It's a 5-star service every time.
But they might get a different approach.
Yeah,
right.
The program will be different.
Exactly. Like the information might be different.
Yeah.
That'd be like, you're not just going to print out a card and say, "Oh, this is the card for you." This is what you have to do.
Not a one size fits all approach. But in terms of the service and what's being delivered, it's going to be the same.
Yes, it will.
Because it's an experience. I want you to feel the same way as that NBA player felt because he or she entrusted me the same way that you are.
Yeah.
As an 8th grader. So you deserve that same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Right. What do y'all think is the most common thing from an 8th grader who's a star on their travel basketball team to a guy in the league, whether NBA, NFL? What's a common thing that they struggle with?
Confidence. I think it's an ability to understand that they haven't arrived. I think the 8th grader wants to get to where the NBA guy is at, and the NBA guy wants to elevate and stay where they're at. And what I try to tell these athletes that you always got to keep evolving. You never have arrived. This is a journey.
Yeah.
And people are so goal-minded. Well, goal is getting you to a destination. I want you to be journey-minded.
Yeah, that's good.
I want the 8th grader to say, hey, I could get here, I could get here, I could get here. I want the NBA player to say, I could get here, I could get here, I could get here. And you take like a LeBron James, for instance. He's journey-minded. He's never arriving. He's always striving to be the best version of himself every single day.
Yeah. I think one of the things that Coach Fleck used to always say is the dream is the journey. It's not the destination.
Right.
Like you gotta, at some point, the dream has to be the daily habits that you make.
Yeah.
Not just the destination, because then you'll get there, you'll get to whatever level your dream is, and then it won't work.
It won't. No,
right?
It won't.
You know what I mean? Like it'll just it'll fall away.
Yeah, well.
And like that's a fact. How do you think? You're talking about confidence. Do you guys ever struggle with confidence?
Yeah,
in training?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day is a battle for me. Every day is like I feel unqualified to do what I'm doing, but I know God has qualified me to do it, or else I wouldn't be here. Matter of fact, which is funny, we just had Paige in here. I was just talking to Paige about that. I said, the 8th grade Paige that I met, did you know you were going to be you now? And she said, I took everything and put it on plan A, which was God.
Ooh.
And yes, I'm where I'm supposed to be because of God.
Yeah.
And I think, it goes back to where when we allow God to fight those battles for us and we just embrace and immerse and give him and enjoy the victory, life becomes so much more easier for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you're talking about Paige Buckets, one of the best women's basketball players.
Yeah.
Go.
She's still little P to me, man. I saw her you look like little,
Yeah, we got to get her on.
Yeah,
I'd love to
get
hear
her on here.
I'd love to hear her story and her perspective.
Yeah.
But like this is just so interesting to me because father-son duo, you've grown tremendously in your craft. You've grown, right? The business has grown. You've had to take on more, which means that you and Nico and other guys have to carry more of a burden on the training side, on the business side, so that you can be the best in both of that business and as a trainer.
Well, my job now is I don't want to let God down. So I'm trying to be the best visionary and have the best vision that God has put inside of me. And I give it back to them to execute.
Yeah. Well, how do you think you would let God down?
Not fulfilling the purpose that he's given me. I think so many people let God down by not fulfilling purpose.
Yeah.
Having a true purpose-driven life.
Yeah.
Where he has given us this ministry to impact so many people's lives. There's been so many parents that have come up to us, whose kids were on drugs or, alcoholics or thinking about committing suicide, that when they walked through those doors, it was let go.
Yeah.
They didn't do it anymore because they had the confidence, they had the belief, they had the wisdom, that we were able to give them.
Yeah. And you're not always going to find that, like from a faith-based perspective. Kids aren't always going to find that in a church.
No.
They might not walk into, like the people that y'all reach, they might not walk into the Wednesday night youth service.
Nope.
They might not ever walk into a Sunday. Or they may walk into a Sunday and just check the box because mom and dad got to go. Yeah. But they really just care about ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But when you can meet them where they're at, on the turf, on the rink, on the court, like you can really make an impact on them. I think that's something that is really cool that y'all do.
Yeah. Even for myself being young and how you said like being in the professional space now, I can relate, to these athletes on a different level because like I'm not too far removed from where you at. And so being able to, not only advance you in your career, but still, on the mental perspective, like give you game and like tell you like, there's more to it.
Yeah.
It's okay if you don't want to do that. It's all right to save your money after you got a big contract and, do something else with it. No, you don't gotta go out all the time. No, you don't gotta do this. If you want to work, we here. Just being able to relate at that age and not feel alienated is a big thing.
Yeah, and the thing too is you don't always have to walk in fear they're going to get cut or released or someone else is going to play over you, right? I think that's a fear that a lot of people struggle with. I struggled with that a lot in my career, like at Minnesota, like, oh, shoot. Like at my lowest moments, it was like, am I going to get benched?
Right.
When in reality, like that thought wasn't from God. Like that thought was just my own self-doubt. And like self-doubt isn't something that God gives us. Like God gives us a spirit of self-control, of a sound mind, and like of confidence. And what you guys were talking about is confidence really just means with faith. So I can walk in confidence with faith that it'll work out, because at the end of the day, like the results aren't up to me. Like the results aren't up to y'all whether the dude runs a 4.5 or a 4.4. Whether he jumps 40 or 32.
Right.
Like you can pour in everything that you can to making him or her the best player that they can be. Right. But at the end of the day, like the results aren't up to us.
No, it's not.
You can walk with faith. And I think that's one of the attacks. Like y'all both said, like, I struggle with confidence at times, right? And it's not like you're out here like, oh, woe is me, yada, yada, yada. No, but it's like that's an area that I think the enemy will attack us, because without faith, it's impossible to please God. But if we got faith, confidence with faith, then who knows what can happen, right? Like when we're walking in our purpose and we don't care about the results, we're not just worried about like the end line, who knows what can happen? Who knows who can be impacted?
I think the enemy always attacks us from a place of who he used to be. And I think, always puts you in that place where it was at that lowest moment in your life where they try to bring it up. The enemy tries to bring up. And I know for me, it's like losing so much family, being evicted, not having a certain place. And then my wife really got on me about it. She said, you have to stop talking about that. You have to involve in where God needs you to be. You got to be present in this moment. You can't live back there.
Wow.
Because then that becomes your identity.
Wow, that's good.
That's real good. And I'm like, man, but it's so true.
And people do that in good and bad
They
too.
do.
Like they do that, like remember when I was getting buckets? You know what I mean?
Well, I was just telling you, like before today, like my buddy, he sends me a text saying, hey, can you connect me with the guy from Vertimax? And I'm like, sure, I'll call the owner for you right now. And he's like, no, you're too big time. I'll just go online and submit an inquiry. Like, why would you block? You asked for the blessing, but you didn't block the blessing.
Right.
Like I'm trying to get you access. And sometimes what God tells us, I'm just trying to just give you access.
That's good.
But you want to keep going back there and doing the same thing.
Thinking that I'm not qualified enough to have that level of respect or to have that blessing.
Right.
We can ask for it, but we can't walk in.
But you want to block your blessing. I need all mine.
Don't block the blessing.
I need all my blessings. I need it.
Hey, me too, bro. I need every single one of them.
For sure.
Health, financially, for my family, like all of it. But I'm not a health and prosperity guy at all.
But I need it though.
But I think like that's a part of God does want you, like if you ask for it when it comes, don't turn it down.
Don't turn it down.
Be ready.
All right, we're so easy to say, God, I need this, and then God shows it to us in a way that we might not have planned in our head, and then we say, oh no, that's not
right. I need it. Run that.
Yeah, run the play.
blessings.
Here it is, run the play.
Run it. I'm running it.
Right,
Act like
but
you already
there's a
got it.
difference between an open door. Like every door is not God. Just because it's a good door don't mean it's God.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
Just because God opened the door doesn't mean you're supposed to run through it.
No.
He might just say, no, take a peek. That ain't it. Close it. I got this better one right here for you.
Amen.
Like for you, like was it a good door at the church? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the one that God wanted you to walk in.
Facts.
Now, if you would have walked in that, God would have redirected your steps. God is the God of redirection. He's sovereign over all our steps. We put too much pressure on ourselves to make the perfect decision every time.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we can be wrong. Like in your journey, we talked about like with Game Face, like getting evicted. God redirected it.
Yeah.
It might have taken longer than you thought.
Yeah.
But God was molding you throughout the process, and then boom, look where we're at now.
Right.
But it's like, it's not look what I built, look what these hands have built. No, it's only God. Only God could give you the connections, business, and business-wise, and with the people that you've trained to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not as important as we think we are. Like in reality, like this always challenges me.
Yeah.
God can certainly use me, and I want to be used, but God does not need me.
No. That's good.
God certainly wants to use me
Yeah.
in personal and private training, in my ministry, in my family, but God doesn't need me. He doesn't need me to make the kingdom great. I want to make the kingdom great, but if I never existed, He's already good. He doesn't need us,
Yeah.
but He wants us. He wants us to help advance the kingdom, and He's created us here for a purpose, but He doesn't need us to make His name great because it already is, because what happened at the cross on Calvary.
Amen.
Like period. Like He does not need us.
Well, you preach.
But he wants us though. You know what I mean? It's a different thing. It's a different thing.
Pastor Morgan.
Listen. It's a different thing to be needed and wanted.
Right.
Like when you're needed, it ends up becoming a crutch.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you can rely on a crutch on just that person. Like, I need you. I need you. Right? And I'm talking about like from God's perspective here. He wants us to be in a relationship with Him.
And it's so
but
amazing.
I come from a place of saying, God, I want you, but I personally need you because I can't walk this life without you. You don't need me, but I need you.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Like you really don't need me to bless the kingdom,
Right.
but I need you to walk into this room to make this podcast. I need you to drive my car home.
Right.
I need you to help me parent my
Amen.
1-year-old daughter who's blessing, but also gets into everything and tests my patience at times on how I can be a grace-filled parent.
Yeah.
Like I need you.
I
need you to drive to Target.
I need you.
Otherwise, I'm gonna go in there and spend $300 on stuff that I don't need.
Man.
Right? You know what I mean? Like it's the difference between
That's so
being
good.
needed and wanted. And God doesn't need us, but He dang sure wants us.
He does.
I want to be in a place where I'm consistently wanting and needing God.
Right.
I'm not always there though. Like I know I need Him, but sometimes I'm not always like burning when I open up my Bible.
Right.
Like I'm not always like, oh Lord, but I got to do it. It's a habit.
Yeah.
Right?
Got to.
Hey, keep some old heads around you, y'all, because that's gems.
Yeah.
You know,
Holy Spirit.
I know we got to close out as soon as
Yeah.
I heard I was listening to Oprah Winfrey talk.
Yeah.
And she's talking about her story and how she got to where she's at. She says, God always knew I was Oprah Winfrey. I needed to know I was Oprah Winfrey. He says in the Bible, I will not make you famous, but I make your name famous. Right? And like, He wants us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have access
Yeah.
to everything. We have dominion over everything.
Yeah.
We just have to walk through those doors and be believing and be accepting.
Yeah. And what's your purpose behind it? Is your purpose to have dominion just so that you can be in control over things or have possessions, materials?
Right.
Or is it, no, like I want to be someone who makes a true impact in the kingdom, in every relationship that I have, in every encounter that I have.
Yeah.
Like I want to be blessed to be a blessing, right? But it's easy to say that and not do it, right?
That's
it's
true.
It's easy to say that, and then the blessing comes, and then you go buy a new car. You know what I mean? Like that's keep it a buck.
Let's keep it a buck.
But the reality is, you're right. Like I want to be in a position where my full and total dependence is on God 100% of the time. And I'd be lying to you if I sat here and said it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But
for all of us.
That's what we're here for. We're here to walk authentically and allow God and others to see the real us and not say, I 100% am a perfect Christian, because I'm not. And guess what? I don't know if I'll ever be there because I know how lost I am.
Yeah.
I know my struggles. Like I know that I'm still a sinner, that God saved me and has washed me new and has seated me in the holy places right next to him.
Yeah.
So I can walk with that authority in my life, knowing that I am seated in the heavenly places with Jesus right now, and the Holy Spirit is with me right now.
And that's the confidence that we walk in when we trust.
Exactly, we walk with confidence. And in that, we're going to close on a high note. And we want to just thank Influence Pro Marketing, who's our sponsor, and they make this podcast possible. And they do fantastic work. We've been really impressed with everything that they've done.
They're amazing.
And they're digital marketing experts. If you need to grow your brand and connect with your audience, like they're the people to go to. So visit them and let them know that we sent you.
And got a shout out to our video guy, Kevin, too. Kevin does an amazing job.
Kevin makes it happen, bro.
Yeah.
Kevin, what's your Instagram? At Kevin Sullivan Films. Boom, hit him up. So we're just thankful for the people that make this podcast happen. Thank you, Influence Pro Marketing, and big thank you to Kevin.
For sure.
So we appreciate that. Deontay, thank you for coming on, bro.
We definitely
have to have you on more. One, because DaVinci's your dad, and we can just make you. No, but it's a cool relationship, and we really appreciate you being on, bro.
Appreciate y'all having me.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Money make the world go round. I'm trying to get it all right now.